Ooh, that's loud. I don't need that loud, pretty loud on my own. Alright, so I'm taking over for Chris today, and I originally thought I was going to be giving y'all like a piece by piece of my testimony today, but as the week goes on, my ideas of what I'm doing for a message always changes, and I came across an interesting analogy, and I was like, okay, I'm going to kind of make that my own thing. We're going to go with it. So, I have three today. It starts where there's this person. The person comes up to two properties. There are only two properties. No other options. They see God's property, which y'all see it there with my ugly handwriting, and Satan's property, again, my ugly handwriting. Y'all have to, there's two properties. They see on the side of Satan, and on the other side is God. On a surface level, they view their options. They see that Satan offers everything they could ever want. Everything they can want for themselves, but it's at the price of death. On God's side, they see a life of struggle, a life where they have to pursue righteousness, a life where they have to give up their ways, their original sinful identity. And of course they want to keep that because it's fun, it's easy, it's no change. And it's all for life. But they don't want to do that. The person thinks for a minute. And then they walk down the fence line between the two properties. We're going to carry this. They walk down the fence line, divided into two sides, and they just laugh. The person climbs onto the fence and sits down. Proud they have beat the system. It's great. Now they can reap the benefits of both sides. They can live however they want for themselves. Live pridefully, selfishly. They can cheat, steal, lie, lust. They can do whatever they want, however they want, to better themselves and satisfy themselves. But of course, to make up for it, the person has to have balance in their life. I mean, they just listed everything on Satan's side, but they're on the fence. So, they have to do some on God's side. They go to church occasionally. They pray when life gets hard. They think that's enough. Sometimes they're even a little excited for God. But the second they get bored of God, they can go back to their old ways because, it's all about balance, right? They're on the fence. They are living what they believe to be freedom. They can gossip about whoever they want. They can talk about anything about someone behind their back. The person doesn't know they're talking about them, so it doesn't hurt them, right? They can drink when they want, get drunk occasionally. But again, it doesn't really hurt to get drunk occasionally or have fun. The person lives like this, thinking these things aren't necessarily sins, but they have balance, right? They go to church sometimes, maybe even every Sunday, maybe even every Wednesday. They have balance. They think they got it all under control. They're not technically on Satan's side, and they're not technically on God's side, right? At the end of their life, they look at God, and they see God is crying. He is sad, and there's tears in his eyes. Confused, the person looks at Satan, and Satan is smiling ear to ear. The person asks, "Why is God crying? Why are you smiling? I beat the system. I beat the spiritual realm. I beat death." Satan pauses and looks at the person on the fence and says, "Darling, don't you know I own the fence?" Betting the fence doesn't look like a very good place to be anymore, does it? We can't stop in the middle of the fence. There is no cheat code to life and death. And I know we've had Chris talk before about being lukewarm and that we should either be hot or cold. There's no point living in this gray area, this lukewarm area. And I've told y'all before about denying yourself and picking up your cross, about moving away from sin, and I just kind of want to stress this more because I don't know, it's just on my heart. Because it's a long process to move from here all the way to here. I don't know if you're doing laps today. That movement happens when things in your heart change. It will change by your own decision. People start on the side of Satan, naturally, because we are born into sin. We are born sinners. As God calls us, we move from Satan toward the fence, the lukewarm time period. We make subtle progress, but eventually we reach the fence, and it's time to make a decision. Some of us never truly decide we are to live on and die that way, ending up with Satan, because he owns the fence. We stay on the fence because it's comfortable, it's familiar. Or, instead of sitting on the fence, we can climb the fence in order to make a permanent decision. That decision to step off that fence took me 5 years. 5 years to fully climb the fence, and honestly, I probably sat here for a good chunk of time to crawl over, to think about where I was and what I wanted. I looked at where I came from and how I lived in a constant, chronic cycle of sin that I could not break on my own. I was prideful, I was selfish, I was judgmental, I lusted, I hated, but deep down there was a shame, a depression, and an anxiety. I was scared what I might do to myself. I was scared the route I was going. And that's where I changed my life. Ooh, let me cry. So instead of sitting on the fence, knowing it was a death sentence, and I did not want to die here, but I didn't fully understand how to jump off the fence. 5 years of sitting on this fence. What if it hurt to jump? But then I looked to God. He made me get on the fence to begin with, but it took me 5 years of torture to learn to put faith in God and step down onto God's side. In all honesty, I probably put that like down the fence because I was like, oh, it hurt. But God led me here. Now I'm on the side where I pursue righteousness and goodness. I have seen the love of God, and when people say it's indescribable, it really is. There's no word to match God's love. There really is not. And God is teaching me to love like that. And I'm like, it's insane. Here, I'm learning to be selfless, to have control over my mind and body. Here I am learning to be patient. Patience is a big one for me that I've been learning. Crazy. I have changed here, and I no longer look at people with judgment. I no longer look at people as something worthless, but I see them as another human who has made mistakes and are worthy of love. I see them as the same way God sees them. Maybe I can't say fully the same way as God because I'm not God, but I see others in a peaceful way. God has changed me. He has humbled me and grown me in ways I would have never known. If you told me when I was like 13, 14, even 16-year-old me, that I'd be here one day, he would have changed this much, honestly, I don't think I would believe you. I had little faith back then. God led me over the fence, and that I did not settle on permanently. It was a long process, but I got over the fence. If you see this fence as a home, if you stay here and settle here because it's comfy and easier, because you can just bounce your life out Make up for your sins with a little bit of God on the weekends. Make up for your sins on a little bit of Wednesday night. Make up for your sins with a little bit of prayer when needed. And then you can still sin, right? But if you stay here on this fence and you settle here, it's a death sentence. It's where staying on this fence, it's a death sentence. But if you see this fence as more of a path to your journey, of course we start here, right? We start on this side because we're born in sin. And there's going to be a point where we have to cross the fence. And if we make the decision to keep going, you will live. And that's only if you keep moving over this fence. That fence is a path. Yes, that path can take a while to cross. I was there for 5 years. Some people are there more. Some people are there less. Some people just jump that thing. The second they hear about God, they're just jumping over, and I'm just like, man, you're so lucky. Wherever you are, keep climbing that fence. Even when it's hard. Sometimes it's a barbed wire fence. I don't know, okay? Sometimes it's hard. Keep coming to church. Keep praying. Keep thinking of God. Be honest with God in your prayers. Any of your efforts to pursue God, will not be in vain. As 1 Corinthians 15:58, I don't have many verses at all, so says, therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, stand firm. Let nothing move you. Always give yourself fully to the work of the Lord, because you know that your labor in the Lord is not in vain. It is not in vain. You might see nothing for a time from your efforts, but remember, your efforts will never be in vain. So I ask all of you today, where are you? Where are you today? Are you on Satan's side? Are you like fully on his side? Or are you on God's side fully? Or are you on this fence? Are you sitting on the fence? Or are you using it as your path to get over onto God's side? So are you sitting on the fence? Or are you climbing it?